Hey guys, and welcome back to more Amnesia Illuminated. Last time we made it through the cellar archives, past the water monsters. I think they're internally called Krakens, but I'm not sure they're ever actually named in the game, although I'm sure we'll find out. This time we're going to kind of follow the natural player progression path through this area. Last time, as you may recall, as we came up the stairs, this door apparently opened, blown by the wind, in fact. So this is where we shall go this time. This is the first location which the player is sort of guided to. Admittedly, it's actually the wrong way, but now we get this.
You have an ascending room. Will it take us to the inner sanctum?
It will definitely take care of the vertical part of our journey. So, you have ridden an elevator before?
Yes, the Colosseum at Regent's Park has one. It takes you to the gallery where you can view the panorama.
Good. This ride might be a little longer, and in the other direction.
And thus we learn of Daniel's amazement at some of the advanced technology the Baron possesses. Certainly this will be working and won't require any nonsense to make it work, right? It's not working. What does it actually say? I don't think I've ever looked at this memento. Find a way to start the engine that powers the elevator. Right. So the player learns that the lift is broken, elevator is broken, however you want to call it, and there's actually a room nearby. I wonder what this one is called. Ah, the machine room, of course. It's locked, of course. What's the memento on this one? Find the key that unlocks the door leading to the machine room. Well, this would be the player's sort of... this is where the game sort of wants you to go initially, just so you can figure out what's meant to be going on in this area. Of course, then, where the player goes is hard to guess. They may go straight forward, or they may go up the stairs. There are now 3 rooms, or 3 locations which we can visit from here, given that locked door and the lift not working. We can go to the study, or we can go to the guest room. And guess where we're going now? The guest room. The guest room certainly is one of the more unique areas in Amnesia the Dark Descent. You can tell I'm perfectly paying attention.
My journal is gone. What would they want with my journal?
Daniel remembers. He was searching for his journal. Something was important about it. The door is stuck due to a broken lock. Perhaps his journal is in there. Perhaps something more important is in there. Let's have a look at this note on the desk, shall we?
2nd of July, 1839. I received a letter today from the Algerian governor's office disclosing the fate of Herbert's expedition. About a week after my departure, Abdullah, one of the men traveling with us, returned from the desert. He was badly injured, as if maimed by a lion. The man rambled deliriously about the expedition being attacked by something horrible. The French quickly dispatched a search party to look for the expedition. After searching for days, they found the camp abandoned without any trace of Herbert or his men. Tomorrow, I'll retrieve the things they recovered from Herbert's tent at the customs house. I don't know what to make of it, but I'm worried for him.
The expedition has been lost, essentially. Hey, look, Laudanum. We learned that the expedition that Daniel was on when he found the orb has been has been ruined, essentially. Everyone is missing, except for a single person who seems to have been maimed by a creature of some kind. Hey, look, this is one of those things from from the archives where it exploded. I wonder if there's anything in here. I don't think I've ever looked. Oh, you can't really open these drawers, which does make sense because, you know... You could open that one all the way, though. So, what is the player supposed to do in this area? First of all, it's very comforting, apart from the fact that it's a mess. And it may, in fact, be a mess because Daniel caused the mess, in fact, because he was so quickly, apparently, so hurriedly searching for his journal, which has been taken from him. So, in fact... Oh, God, that drawer comes out fast. In fact, this may be a mess because Daniel created it. And it's so well lit and inviting as well. So we do have some apparently wine stains here. They're not actually blood. And again, the room is filled with debris from someone searching very hurriedly for something. Although despite searching very hurriedly for something, they left behind a convenient crowbar. Which we can take and we can continue the story now as to the fate of the expedition, I believe.
3rd of July, 1839. Today I picked up Herbert's things at the customs house. I dug through the trove of documents he had carried and found a log detailing the expedition. The nature of this text ranged from quick notes to colourful accounts of transpired events. I skimmed the pages, trying to figure out what might have happened. May 17th, the day I was trapped inside the orb chamber, Herbert dryly states, "Recovered Daniel after 1 hour of entrapment." This confused me greatly. I was suffocating within minutes. How could I have lasted an hour? I continued reading the peculiar text. Herbert states his facts without judgment or passion, but suddenly I could read frustration into his text. He pushed his men to investigate the underground tomb, an effort which seems to have strained the minds of his men. Madness spread through the ranks, and Herbert had to take some extreme measures to continue. He finally visits the chamber himself, where he retrieves the orb to the surface. His account confuses me greatly. If he has the orb, what are those pieces in my drawing room?
Indeed, a very confusing note, actually. So apparently Herbert has his own orb, maybe? Oh, that's the wrong thing. Diaries. Herbert has his own orb, or perhaps what Daniel has isn't the orb at all? Is it the orb? Is it not the orb? It's really hard to say, especially since Herbert seems like a trustworthy fellow, given that, you know, his diary apparently is very factual. Although, of course, madness spread through the ranks, and Herbert had to take some extreme measures to continue. I wonder what those extreme measures are. I wonder if, in fact, maybe one of the guys who escaped the expedition actually just ran away because of Herbert's extreme measures. You know, perhaps he was being a bit of a slave driver and he just left of his own accord. Daniel was only entrapped for 1 hour, which is, you know, whatever, that's fine. Doesn't really mean anything necessarily. Daniel felt like he was suffocating within minutes, but that could just be, you know, his perception on it being messed with by whatever. So I'm not sure that's of significant importance. Maybe. Although it does confuse Daniel, which of course is to be expected, because Daniel is very easily confused. So, yeah, let's find the last note and see what the end result of this is. Can we move the bed? Nope.
Daniel? What? Still having nightmares, I see.
Yes, I can't shake them. They come every night.
We'll put a stop to them. You'll see.
Alexander trying to convince Daniel that whatever must be done is the right thing, because clearly it is, right? Surely it is. I'm just going to search the room because I can't remember how much stuff is in here. I think there isn't that much stuff. You don't really need that much stuff in this room, to be fair, because, you know, it's pretty well lit. And now we come to the more interesting more interesting aspect of this room. The main purpose which it serves, as well as giving us a bunch of story and telling us that at some point Daniel was in fact panicking to find his...
The key. Please, let it be here.
Oh. Apparently, he's remembered that there's a key in here somewhere. An important key is hidden in the guest room. Okay. So let's just do this like a regular player might. Well, first I guess we'll have the note, the final note in this area.
4th of July, 1839. It's done. The orb is assembled. I was awakened by an exhausting nightmare. Shaking and sweating, I retired to the drawing room with a cup of tea. The relic pieces lay spread across the table as I'd left them, but somehow I knew how it was supposed to be. I fetched the tar, which I'd prepared to fix the pieces together, and without fault I joined them, producing the orb I remembered so clearly. The tar proved unnecessary. It was pushed out from the joining pieces as they merged on their own, with no adhesive. The ancient stone relic now rests on my table. Its immaculate surface and perfect shape could have been molded by a factory. This is all too strange.
And so the final piece, actually, is that Daniel now has a fully completed orb. And he completed it after having a terrible nightmare. A most terrible nightmare, in fact. Of course, Daniel's probably been having nightmares for a while, considering what's happened to him. Both in real life and, you know, mentally as well. It's interesting, though, that the orb rebuilds itself. I wonder what actually causes it to rebuild itself. I mean, I get that, okay, so it's magic, right? And that's fine. But why couldn't he build it before? Did he need some kind of revelation to do it? Or was it literally impossible for anyone to do before? And the orb just needed some kind of event to occur in the world that allowed it to go back together. Who knows? Now, let's continue this as if we were a regular player, right? I mean, I know exactly what's about to happen. I wonder how many of you guys know exactly what's about to happen. Because, as I recall... Yep, that happens. Now you can actually peek, and you are fine. But peeking is very dangerous. We're gonna do it just because we can. And there he goes. I have to admit, I'm not a super fan of this event. I'm not the biggest fan of this event, but it does certainly get across to the player that that the castle isn't empty and they must be on their guard. Notice how I didn't have to pick up the key for that to happen. All I had to do was be out of line of sight of the door. This is also triggered if you pick up the key as well. So that's a thing to watch out for, because if you pick up the key, you're over here, you're out of line of sight of the door, but then if you leave this door open to get into a safe place quicker, you have to at some point be in line of sight. I'm actually not sure if the monster will come after you in that time, or if they're or if it's too stupid to realize that. Whatever, either way, the key's actually here.
Oh, thank God, there it is. I guess it is a good place to hide it then.
Apparently, no one ever thinks to look behind the window. Of course, it's in a glass bottle, which you have to smash. Oopsie! And now our sanity is crystal clear. Daniel is in very good mental health. Right, we now have the key to go into the engine room. I think what we'll do is we'll actually go quickly into the engine room, in fact, because it's entirely possible that that might be a player's next instinct. The reason I came here is because I know there's lots of little things I want to get done, so at least in this episode, there's lots of little things before we do one big thing, and then this door has closed. How worrying. Oh, that's a good point, actually. Something I should point out. Does it happen yet? Oh.
Don't forget your bag, Daniel.
I won't, Herbert.
There is no shame in using a parasol in the desert. As it happens, it's imperative to your survival.
But it looks ridiculous.
The shade will hurt much less than dying, I assure you.
Yes, it does happen now. Although I always forget, like on the first room, what is the main difference here? So as you complete rooms in this area, this room will change. We get a flashback to Herbert telling instructing Daniel into, you know, use a parasol because there's a lot of sun. Let's just quickly go over to the engine room and see what happens there. I forget what happens if you go there before you have all the bits. I think the answer is nothing, but it's worth having a look. So now we can bust our way in here. So, as I recall, actually, there are several puzzles you can solve before you have all the bits. Is there several puzzles or just one puzzle? No, I think it's just one puzzle. There are various rooms, and actually, if we read these notes, we'll find where we need to go to be able to solve some of these. This is actually quite an interesting area in general, to be fair. It's multiple puzzles in this area, and you have to solve them all. I quite like them, although once you've solved them once, it is pretty easy. What does this note say?
5th of July, 1839. Today, I went to the university looking for answers. I was able to sneak into Herbert's office and pick up an address book along with some relevant textbooks. Professor Taylor at the Faculty of History was very helpful, and I managed to approach the subject of the orbs. The most interesting aspect was the prevalent trace they had left in our culture. The mythic orbs may, in fact, have inspired the globus cruciger, which so many royal regalia holds to this day. In ancient times, the orbs were held by priests as a symbol of the sun and its power. As I was leaving, I overheard a disturbing conversation. Sir William Smith, the geologist, was killed last night. Less than a fortnight had passed since I'd asked for his expertise. I know it's silly, but I can't help feeling responsible somehow.
We learned several things here. We learned that, in fact, the orbs actually go much further back than anyone previously knew. Even though, considering the tomb that the current orb, the orb that Daniel has, or presumably has, is like 1,700 years old, and that they were used as parts of religions. Though one thing that's quite interesting is that it states as well that they may have been held, or were held, it says in fact, by priests. So other people were able to hold them without terribly bad things happening, apparently. But they are fallen into myth, as you can see. The mythic orbs may in fact be inspired, may have inspired the globus cruciger. So, I don't know. The orbs are real, apparently. I mean, we're here. But who knows how old they are. They could, in fact, be older than, you know, the Earth itself in this universe. I'm just searching around because there's stuff everywhere in this place. So it's worth just having a look around just to see how many we can get. I'm aiming to get them all, although I must admit I've not really been keeping track, so I've probably missed several of them. And also just note the design here, actually. Here's a good point. Look at the architecture. So we've got standard, well, pretty standard stone walls with blackened cement or other, you know, binding material between them. And then in between them, we've got all these pipes just going everywhere. Now, the fact that the pipes like run all against the walls rather than like inside the walls or something implies that this was added later, I think. And this almost certainly was added later. This castle is way older than steam power, and that is in fact actually what this lift runs on. We will learn later, actually, in fact, that Alexander designed this steam lift all by himself. This room, this location is actually pretty well lit as well. It makes the player feel quite safe. It makes me feel quite safe. We can, of course, look through all the rooms, which we will do, and try and find the rest of these notes. I'm pretty sure I know where they are. I think there's one in here, and then there's one in the room downstairs. Yes, here we go. Here's the one in here.
14th of July, 1839. I've read every book I can find on the subject. While rich in legend and hearsay, my knowledge is lack for the insight I crave. I've sent letters to many in Herbert's address book and received answers of varying importance. Today, I got one which differed greatly from the others. From a baron in Prussia. He said nothing about the quaint stories of priests in underground temples. He didn't even mention them. He simply wrote, "I know. I can protect you. Come to Brennenburg Castle. Signed, Alexander." What am I to make of this? Protect me from what? Is someone after me? I looked up Brennenburg and traced it to the Prussian woods near the Baltic Sea. While being the least informative letter I've received, it causes me greatest distress and interest. As I write, my thoughts are drawn to my nightmares in which a most disturbing sound calls to me. A sound defying description. A voice from the void. The last few weeks have been awful, with so many sleepless nights dreading a repeat of those horrid dreams. Tomorrow, I shall visit my physician, Dr. Tate, in hope that he can provide me with sedatives to help me sleep.
Again, so much has happened in this note. We learn of Alexander of Brennenburg, of course, and that through some means he has caught wind of Daniel's predicament. Now, one thing that is not clear, we can only assume that Daniel did send him a message, right? Because he says that he sent letters to many people in Herbert's address book, got many replies, but this is the only one which just kind of states that, yep, it's happening, you need to come over here and we'll sort it out kind of approach, kind of thing. And yet the funny thing as well about Alexander's letter, it's so obviously baiting as well. It's like it just leaves so much out. It's just, come here, I'll save you. Not explaining like how or what's going on. It's just, come here, I'll save you. And I think that's probably what made Daniel take the bait so hard, because Daniel's a pretty inquisitive guy, and you can't just, you know, I wouldn't personally be able to leave that alone. Just come here, I'll protect you. So I can totally see why Alexander took this approach. And then Daniel's nightmares are getting worse, and he's hoping that he can use a medical solution to allow him to sleep a bit better. Yeah, good luck with that, Daniel. Oh, the final note is actually in here as well. I forgot about this. Wait, this isn't the final note. No, this is not the final note. This is about the rod, isn't it? Yes. Machine equipment memo. Note that there are only 2 spare rods left in the storage for the elevator machinery. Make sure to only discard the ones which are badly damaged and keep the others in the inner study rooms in case all 3 would crack again. So this is just telling us that we need to go to the study and the storage room, which of course, I'm sure we wouldn't be able to guess that we need to go there. Oh, we do also need to collect these gears. I forgot about this. So one of the puzzles is actually involves these gears. That's right. Steam goes everywhere. There's a gear here as well. We'll just take them downstairs now, just to save the effort later, essentially. I think I've left another one up there, actually. Oh, give me this gear. So the final note will be in here. There you go. Get in there. I'm not exactly in a hurry, but, you know, whatever. Funny thing is, it's not actually entirely clear. It's not spelled out in absolute black and white that there is a puzzle to solve here. In fact, I'm just going to light this lamp here, I think. Yeah, because the gears go here, you see. I don't think that the ordering actually matters as long as they're just on here. I'm pretty certain. Although, I am missing a gear. I'm pretty sure there's one in this room somewhere. Put that there. Is the other one in here? Oh yeah, there it is. Look how it's slightly glowing as well. It's a really interesting design choice. They could have just opted to not do that. It's kind of weird. I find it kind of weird that they chose to have this thing slightly glowing. Actually, is it just that corner that's slightly glowing? Yeah, because look, now that I've moved the gear, it doesn't glow anymore. Weird. I'm not sure the choice behind that. They could have just left the gear there and forced the player to search for it. I don't think that would have been wrong as such. So yeah, we've got the gears on there now. We can pull the lever, but nothing happens. Except the gears now turn. There's a bit more of the puzzle as well. We're supposed to throw a bit of coal into the fire, but we'll worry about that later. For the moment, let's just grab the last note.
17th of July, 1839. How has this escaped me? They're all dead. Limbs scattered, heads split down the middle, their skin flayed as if boiled. I feel like I'm falling into myself. What's happening? Sir William Smith, Professor Taylor, now Dr. Tate. Is it following me? How can it not be? It's the damn thing I brought from Africa. Something is after me. I have no choice but to trust the Baron. He better know what he claims. If he is wrong, I suspect he'll regret it as well.
And Daniel comes to the realization that he is in fact being, it says haunted in the title of the diaries, but in this case perhaps it's more hunted. It's weird that I think it's weird that the shadow takes so long to catch up to him, and along the way it kills everyone he meets. It's never described whether or not Daniel has any family. Of course, if he does, and he's been spending any time with them, they will be quite dead now as well. It's curious that he finally realizes, after being told that people are dying, although I don't think it's elaborated in the further entries, that their limbs are scattered, heads split down the middle, skin flayed kind of thing. But it's curious that now he's figured out that this is happening, and it's probably purely because all these people are dying in such horrific manners. But that's, you know, that's fine. So now he is decided to trust the Baron entirely. To be fair, if I was in his position, which would be quite unlikely, I would probably do the same. You know, what else are you gonna do? What else are you gonna do in this position? Also, something I forgot to point out, just look how these corridors, the corridors here, I've already mentioned this, but I just want to reiterate, these corridors are pretty much the same as all the other corridors in the castle, except for the wooden floor, which is a bit unusual. But of course, because this place has been retrofitted to be an engine room to run the elevator, it's just filled with pipes. It feels so, not constrained, but because there are pipes everywhere, it's really hard to imagine this being a comfortable place to be in, because there's so much. Also, I just realized they haven't been looting for tinderboxes, because no doubt there'll be like 6 or 7 tinderboxes if I don't actually loot for them. Oh, there's even a barrel of oil here. I forgot about that. But there are tinderboxes over here. Well, one specifically. Any more? Anything behind here? I'm not going to complete the puzzles in this area because I actually can't, because I need to go into storage and the... what is it? Not the library. What's it called? The study. The study is where I need to go next. Also, I have to admit, I'm a big fan of this sort of steampunky design. This isn't exactly steampunk, it's more industrial punk in many ways, because, in fact, it's not even that technically, because theoretically, it's it's actually future punk in many ways, if given the era that this game is set in, because this is, of course, none of this technology actually existed back then. This is the advent of steam, effectively, and Alexander using his immense knowledge of machinery to gain an unfair advantage. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you've enjoyed this. I hope you've learned something again. We will come back to this room at a later stage, but first we have to go through storage and the study. Next time I intend to go into the study and then into storage and do that. And then it will be on down through the elevator. Anyway, guys, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. See you guys later. Bye.